Notice is hereby given that the following hearing will be held in the Bonneville County Courthouse, 605 North Capitol Avenue, Idaho Falls, on March 27th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. by the Bonneville County Commissioners. This is for the purpose of a public hearing in relation to the application by Rancho Coachella Property and Knife River Corporation for a rezone from C2 General Commercial Zone to IM1 Industrial and Manufacturing Zone. The general location is the north side of 65th South and east of 35th West, and west of Yellowstone Highway US 91 in Bonneville County. The notice then gives the legal description as well as information about the hearing that it will be available on Zoom. And this was published on March 12th, 2024, and signed by Austin Black, our planning and zoning administrator. We have two commissioners, myself, Commissioner Reed, and Commissioner Walker. With us today, Commissioner Christensen is excused for the day. We also have our planning and zoning administrator, Austin Black, as well as his staff from planning and zoning, and the general public in the hearing today. We have all of the information from the hearing that was held by the Bonneville County Planning and Zoning Committee on January 24th. That has all been included in our packets, and without exception, that will be included in the minutes of this meeting today, and we will use all of that information in our decision today. So information there doesn't necessarily have to be repeated. We have looked over that. We will begin, I assume, by Michelle Hagan.
Yes.
With planning and zoning to present the application and explain it to us.
Thank you. So Michelle Hagan, this is an application by Joe Smith of Knife River Corporation on behalf of property owner Rancho Coachella Properties LP. The request is to amend the zoning map from C2 to an INM1 for approximately 88 acres of a 96-acre parcel. Property is located on the north side of West 65th South, east of 35th West, and west of Yellowstone Highway, Bonneville County, Idaho. So there is a small strip of property owned by the city of Idaho Falls that runs parallel along the river, which is the only separation with the river. The property has an industrial land use designation on the majority of the parcel. So there is a strip that is designated as suburban mixed use. That's not the right one.
Oh, no, it's not.
That's the next one.
That's next week.
I'm sorry, my bad, my bad.
Okay.
Let me get the right one.
So there is a strip that is designated as the suburban mix that's 200 feet in width, and it runs parallel with the riverbank. There is also a commercial land use designation for a depth of 320 feet that is along 65th South. The land use map layer does not show these other designations very accurately. So just keep that in mind if you see the visual. The property is adjacent to A1 and C2 zoned properties. The next slide, there's our zoning map. The existing uses in the area consist of agriculture, some residential, industrial, and commercial uses. There are several existing gravel pits in this area. The subject property was rezoned to the current C2 designation in 2015, and the conditions of the finding of fact are included in that hearing packet. The applicant's narrative states that the intent is to establish gravel pit in this location. However, remember there are multiple uses within the INM1 zone. that are allowed. The INM1 zoning district allows all, specifically, it allows all uses unless it is a use that is expressly prohibited, and that's further explained in section 1-2602 of the zoning ordinance. The proposed INM1 zone is one that may be considered with an industrial land use designation. However, the INM1 zone cannot be considered within the area that is designated as suburban mixed use, and it should not be considered in the commercial land use along the road front. The comprehensive plan has the compatibility decisions that should be considered in all map amendments. These include looking at compatibility to adjacent uses, as well as determining if the proposed change would create undue concentrations of uses, which would destroy living quality, congest thoroughfares, or overload public facilities. It needs to be determined if the proposed change would create a negative impact on the existing established uses, congest those thoroughfares, or overload those facilities. The proposal must consider protecting the adjoining uses and lot compatibility qualities. This area of the county has been identified as commercial and industrial corridor for many years. And a lot of the property in this area has been zoned as such within the county since the 1960s. And the commercial and industrial growth has expanded and developed over time. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on January 24th, 2024. There was a lot of discussion regarding the case. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by a 5-1 vote. Conditions from the P&Z: 1, landscaping buffer along the arterial roadway. 2, landscaping buffer where adjacent to the existing A1 zoned property that is developed with a dwelling. 3, landscaping buffer along the Snake River. 4, plating is typically required when development occurs. 5, comply with requirements from Public Works. 6, setback from 65th south of 300 feet from mining operations. 7, the area that has the suburban mixed use, which is 200 feet wide running parallel with river, will not be included in the area to be rezoned. 8, the area that has the commercial land use designation for a depth of 320 feet from 65th south will also be omitted from the rezone, and this area will remain C2. Are there any questions for me at this time?
Questions? I had one. There was a fair amount of discussion in the minutes from the January 24th meeting about that 320 foot
Yes.
strip along 65th. Can you, just for the minutes, explain that a little bit?
That was, the land use map didn't, there's been a lot of changes over time in this area. And so having all of that tracked, it kind of got overlooked that it was there. And so as we continue to review the case and the application and do more research, we discovered that it was that extensive 320 feet from that, and that it extends up there, and it actually runs quite a ways along. It runs the entirety of 65th South and turns and goes up Yellowstone. So for the land use.
It's original commercial zoning out there, so it's been zoned commercial essentially since the start of zoning in Marco.
Yeah. Okay. Questions? Okay, hearing no other questions, then we'll invite the applicant or their representative to come and present your case. Please introduce yourself for the record and I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Commissioners, thank you. My name is Joe Smith with Knife River. My address is 4800 Wilkie Street in Missoula, Montana. So with this rezone application, we do feel that it's consistent with the intended land use designation within the county. And we do have the intent to mine gravel, from the site. There is a lot of gravel deposits in this area, which is why we see so many gravel pits. With the growth that Bonneville County has seen in the last 10 years, it's been almost 25% increase. We really need gravel to support those local construction projects, whether they be state, county, or city, as well as the infrastructure growth and the housing demand. So keeping those aggregate sources close is important to keeping those prices affordable, the best we can in this market, but that's an important consideration. We have proposed to leave the first 300 feet as commercial, and we can certainly amend the plat and the exhibit that we provided to the 320 feet, as well as along the river. So when we did our research, we couldn't find anything for the mixed use designation, but we can certainly adjust that rezone and that plat to adhere to that as well.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. You'll have time at the end after public testimony for any additional comments. So we'll open it up for public testimony. Anyone in the room wish to testify for or behalf or against this application? Okay, hearing none. Any further comments that you'd wish to add?
Thank you, Mr. Commissioners. One reason also I wanted to point out, we've already been in touch with Bonneville County Road and Bridge. We work with them pretty closely on a lot of our projects, and we've been in contact with them about the approach to this location. And we put the approach on the east side of the parcel because that was Bonneville County Road and Bridges. That was their recommendation. So we'll get all the approach permits necessary through Road and Bridge before construction. Knife River does not have any concerns with the landscaping requirements set forth within the planning and zoning area as well.
Okay.
The approach will also be paved just for it's just the right thing to do for our neighbors. It keeps mud off the streets, it keeps dust down along the roadway, and helps with our environmental protection of the environment.
Okay. So just to bring it up, I found it interesting that you did some test digs within that 200 feet, right? At the river, or 250, I believe, and no water.
I was surprised as well. And we intentionally, we dug down until we hit a hard pan so that there's a basalt layer anywhere from 20 to 30 feet across the site. We dug down to the basalt layer. We left it open overnight because I was curious if we'd have any kind of water intrusion, and there was no water. We encountered no groundwater on the site.
And wasn't that within 250 or 200 feet? I
It
can't
was-
remember the exact number.
It was probably about 150 feet
Okay,
away from the property boundary to the west.
well, that bodes well for what you can do there.
Just out of curiosity. Chair,
Sure.
the Austin, gravel pit that's directly south of that, that's along the river, how close their excavations, the mining's come to the river?
They have the same suburban mixed use corridor on that side. As far as knowing if they've gone into that or not, I haven't been out to the pit recently to know the exact
I
width.
haven't seen it fill with water.
But they were supposed to maintain that same corridor, and I was gonna point out as part of the record, a couple days ago, I did receive an email from the city of Idaho Falls expressing concern about having a portion on the western side that they could maintain a trail as part of their connecting our communities plan, and I responded to their community development director and told him that we had that 200-foot strip reserved there for suburban mixed, and he responded and said that's a great solution. So they were appeased with having that on that side also. But I'd have to truthfully go out and look and see how close they've gotten, but it should be the same.
Cause I think they were getting close to that, but. Again, no water, you think water would go through the rocks, right?
Okay, there's no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion? So I guess one thing that I'd like to just get on the record as well is that, and they talked about it a lot in the minutes from the January 24th, is, this isn't to consider a gravel pit. This is to consider a zone change to IM1. There would have to be another hearing. Well, no, if it's IM1, there would not have to be a
Gravel pit
hearing.
isn't allowed use in
That's right.
IM1 zone, but there's also multiple other uses that could be utilized in that
So
zone.
it could be done.
Right.
Okay. All right, hearing no other, testimony, we will go ahead and close the hearing then. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Well, let me just point out, thank you, Austin.
Yeah.
This matter will be taken under advisement by the commissioners. There will be no other open discussion between the commissioners on this topic until a decision is made. We will visit individually with our planning and zoning administrator to give our inputs. He will then write a findings of fact that will be considered at a published meeting when we will make our decision. Which is usually a couple of weeks.
Yeah, probably, I'm gonna be out of town that week of April, so probably 3 weeks. I've got a training in Boise, so probably 3 weeks from today.
Okay, so be watching on our calendar. We hold those decisions at our road and bridge meeting on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. So when you see it come up on the calendar for that day, that meeting, we will not be taking any more testimony, but there will be discussion amongst the commissioners and the decision made at that time. So with that, unless I'm forgetting something
No,
else,
you're
we'll
good.
close the meeting. All right, thank you, everyone.